awful lot of people in the West are fearful of the growing influence of the East, of the developing world, as it moves up and takes its rightful place as major powers, particularly in the economic field, but increasingly that'll have influence on political and military. There's no military power without economic power. And so now what we're going to be doing is finding a new sense of balance in the international community. And I'm concerned when I hear a constant sense of fear in the West about what the East is trying to do. And it's an example of the recent summit of the BRIC heads of state in Brazil. You had Brazil, Russia, India, and China. These four countries are extraordinarily important in terms of what kind of a world order we're going to have over the next century. And their influence is sometimes misperceived. I think it was very interesting to see the practicality for the first time of the BRIC summit to deal with a real issue, and the issue had to do with food production. And the concept was that here in those four countries, you have two of the biggest consumers, the two biggest consumers of foodstuffs in the world, and you have several big exporters. And the question that they dealt with was, what impact does climate change have on food production, and how should that be dealt with within the BRIC context? And what was really exciting about it was they came up with some very practical ideas of how the four of them would actually work together, initially in information sharing, but then eventually in much more proactive ways. That is a really healthy sign, and it seems that those of us in the West who see something like that should be embracing it, should be reaching out, and should together be finding how do we take the old system that we've inherited, which was largely led and developed by the West, and how do we create a new system for the 21st century that will deal with increased inclusivity. There's just a lot more folks at the table. And at the same time, also dealing with challenges, global 21st century challenges, things like climate change or cyber warfare or organized global criminals, gangs like this, a proliferation of weapons, terrorism, and the ability to use nanotechnology, not just nuclear. These are things that we never had to face before, and it's not a case of all rational actors. It's not a case of nation states knowing how to deal with each other. We have a big challenge ahead. And I think if we look at some of these positive steps, like the recent BRIC meeting, there's great reason to be optimistic and to continue our efforts.